This is Will Ragatz with Vikings on SI here at US Bank Stadium, where Sam Darnold might have just re-entered the MVP conversation. The Vikings beat the Atlanta Falcons 42 to 21, with Darnold spoiling the return of Kirk Cousins to US Bank Stadium, throwing for a career high 5 touchdown passes, 347 yards, no turnovers, in just a triumphant day, a triumphant second half, especially for the Vikings offense. So it was their sixth straight win, moves them to 11-2 on the season. And it wasn't always easy, as the final score might suggest. This was a game that was pretty close. The Vikings were up 14-10 at halftime, but they were getting doubled up in yards, doubled up in time of possession by the Falcons, who were moving the ball pretty well. Kirk Cousins threw an interception to Josh Metellus in the first half. The Falcons turned it over on downs. They had to settle for a short field goal. So it could have been worse. The Vikings could have easily been trailing at halftime. Even in the third quarter, they're up 14-13. Then they go down and get a touchdown. The Falcons respond with a quick drive, get a touchdown, a 2-point conversion. And at the end of three, it was tied 21-21. But in the fourth quarter, the Vikings just absolutely pulled away. They finished this game with 4 consecutive touchdown drives on offense. Sam Darnold, 5 touchdowns. Like I said, he goes 3 of them to Jordan Addison, who had 133 receiving yards, 2 of them to Justin Jefferson, who had 132 receiving yards. The first time in Vikings history that a receiving duo has had 100 plus and 2 TDs each in a single game, which you talk about Randy Moss, Chris Carter, some of the duos the Vikings have had over the years. That's a pretty impressive feat. Sam Darnold becomes the first quarterback since Dante Culpepper in 2004 to throw for 5 touchdowns in a game. And then Aaron Jones, after a Byron Murphy interception, the second of the day for Kirk Cousins, Aaron Jones seals it with a touchdown and a leap into the US Bank Stadium stands to make it a 42-21 game. This was it wasn't a perfect game for the Vikings. It may have been their most complete game of the season in a lot of respects, specifically on offense. I mean, it's the first time they've put up 40 plus points in the Kevin O'Connell era, and that dates back to 2019 against the Lions was the last time they had 40 plus in a game. They were really, really good on that side of the ball. Darnold's the story. He was just unbelievable. I mean, the second touchdown he threw to Jefferson, he escaped kind of a free rusher against a blitz, gets out to the right, finds Jefferson wide open downfield, is still able to get it to him on the run. He threw deep to Jordan Addison for a couple connections and a long pass interference penalty. He just looked really decisive. He was great in the red zone. Vikings were 8 of 12 on third down. He looks really, really dialed into the game plan to what Kevin O'Connell wants to do on offense right now. So that was really impressive. There were, again, I mean, like the Cardinals game last week, there were some shaky things in the first half in regards to pass protection, whether it's missing assignments on the offensive line, not picking up blitzes, Darnold maybe holding on to the ball too long. He took 3 sacks in the first half. He took a fourth in the third quarter. They just it wasn't super fluid at times in that regard, but then they settled in, and the offensive line looked a lot better as the Vikings finished this game just being unstoppable on offense. Defensively, they give up 496 total yards. Kirk Cousins threw for 300 plus. Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier both ran for touchdowns and were pretty efficient on the ground. So it wasn't the best game from a Vikings defense that was missing a couple starting caliber players. Stephon Gilmore is a starter, and Pat Jones at outside linebacker is kind of a starter in his own right. So they're down those 2 guys. But they still found a way to get it done. And like they've done at times this season, they've given up some yards, but they come up with these takeaways. They win the turnover battle 3-0. Metellus gets an interception and does a dance from the movie White Chicks with Cam Bynum in the end zone. Byron Murphy gets his 6th interception of the season, one off the NFL lead. And then a key play really was after the Vikings scored their 4th touchdown of the day to go up 28-21. On the ensuing kickoff, Brian Asamoah punches it out of Ray McLeod's hands. CJ Ham recovers. Vikings get the ball back, and just like that, they're able to go up 35-21 and kind of put the game away. So winning the turnover battle, always huge for the Vikings. They're able to do it. They were able to hold the Falcons to a field goal, like I said, get the turnover on down. So they bent, giving up a lot of yardage, and they were up for much of the fourth quarter, which contributes to some of the yardage totals. But they didn't break a whole lot, and the defense did enough to complement an offense that was just really clicking. Really an impressive performance by Sam Darnold, who's bounced back so incredibly well. I mean, he was in the MVP discussion early this season, and then there was a 5 game stretch in the middle of the 13 games he's played so far where it's 6 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He had that 3 pick game against the Jaguars, and it started to look concerning. It looked like he was maybe turning back into Jets or Panthers Sam Darnold, but the way that he's bounced back now over the last 4 games, 11 touchdowns, no picks, multiple touchdown passes in every game. Today, 5 of them a career high. It's been really impressive. It's a testament to the resiliency of Darnold, Kevin O'Connell's coaching, this whole offense. They look like a force to be reckoned with right now with the receivers that they have and just the pieces up and down the offense. They look really hard to stop when they're playing their game. When Darnold's playing like this, Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, Aaron Jones, Josh Oliver was back in this game, had a big catch in the fourth quarter. It's just a really good offense. And then defensively, they'll want to clean some things up from this game and be better in terms of allowing lots of chunks of yardage. And they could get ideally Gilmore and Jones back as soon as next week against the Bears. But still, they've come up with takeaways. The sacks have been there all year. So they'll look to keep this momentum going and stretch the win streak to 7 right back here next week on Monday Night Football against the Chicago Bears.